Verglas Curve, our first ever Stasis kinetic exotic bow. Today we're going to be looking at not only Verglas Curve in action, but we're also going to be looking at how it performs and showcasing how it synergizes into a full build for the Shadebinder Warlock subclass. We'll be taking advantage of Stasis crystals, artifact mods, aspects, fragments, all with the goal of focusing on high Stasis turret uptime, as well as high ability regeneration uptime. The build is going to focus on maximizing the new armor mods, utilizing orbs of power to synergize with these artifact mods, and utilizing the artifact perk unauthorized mods grenades. Additionally, this build has the ability to deal with almost all champions with little to no effort. Verglas Curve is a Stasis exotic kinetic bow with the exotic perk Hail Barrage. Final blows with this weapon grant stasis arrows. Your next hipfire shot will fire all of them in a single volley. The weapon perk Hailstorm states that these stasis arrows freeze targets on contact and create stasis crystals when they come into contact with the environment. Because we are running the Bleakwatcher aspect, which allows us to convert our grenade into a stasis turret that fires slowing projectiles at targets, we will be able to freeze targets on the battlefield. When we kill these frozen targets, the Ice Flare Bolt aspect will then spawn a target seeker, which will track and freeze other nearby targets. To synergize with these aspects and having frozen targets all over the battlefield, we're going to be taking advantage of the damage buff provided to us by our first fragment of the build, Whisper of Rending. Whisper of Rending states that it provides us a damage bonus to stasis crystals and frozen targets. What this means is that any target you freeze, you'll then gain increased damage from your primary ammo weapon. This was recently changed by Bungie to allow stasis primary weapons to take advantage of this fragment. By freezing targets, we're getting a damage buff on our primary exotic. Primary exotics were recently changed last year to also deal 40% more damage against regular tier enemies. We'll be, at base, dealing more damage to these enemies not only because of this damage bonus Bungie implemented on primary ammo exotic weapons, but also because of the previously mentioned fragment, Whisper of Rending. Additionally, with the release of Lightfall, Bungie has changed the armor mod system in Destiny 2. As a result of this change, Heavy Ammo Finder mod has returned on the helmet. The Heavy Ammo Finder mod states that primary ammo weapons, especially exotic primary ammo weapon final blows, help you find ammo more quickly. So we're gaining extra damage for using a primary ammo exotic weapon on minor tier enemies, and then we capitalize on Whisper of Rending to get additional damage bonus. And that allows us to earn more drops because we're using an exotic primary ammo weapon and earning those final blows, giving us a greater chance to proc the Helmet Ammo Finder mod Heavy Ammo Finder. We're also running 2 harmonic siphon mods on our helmet to help us create orbs of power. With the armor mod changes in Lightfall, creating orbs of power is very important for properly build crafting, as elemental wells and Charged with Light mods are no longer in the game, and the new system runs on orbs of power similar to Charged with Light. Because we'll be dealing bonus damage with Whisper of Rending to frozen targets, our goal is to freeze as many targets as possible. This is where Verglas Curve comes into play. Because we can store up to 5 stasis arrows, which we can then hip fire out to create a wall of stasis crystals, freezing targets, we'll then take advantage of our next fragment, Whisper of Shards. Whisper of Shards states, shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. The first stasis crystal you break will provide a 5-second bonus to your stasis ability regeneration. With Lightfall, Bungie has scaled back how much our discipline can affect our grenade cooldown time. In Lightfall, having max discipline at tier 10 now provides the tier 8 level of discipline that we were familiar with in Witch Queen, so it's important that we capitalize on using this fragment to help offset the cooldown changes. We will be making the stasis crystals with the use of our exotic primary, Verglas Curve. When Verglas Curve is fully loaded with 5 Hailstorm arrows, we can unleash a wall of stasis crystals to freeze targets, proc Whisper of Rending when we damage those frozen targets with Verglas Curve, proc Whisper of Shards by shattering any other stasis crystals that form near the target, but it will also provide us that bonus ability regeneration up to 10 full seconds. Frozen targets that we kill with Verglas Curve will also proc our second aspect, Ice Flare Bolts. Any nearby targets that are not frozen from the stasis crystals from Verglas Curve or from your stasis turret will be sought out by the Seeker that tracks and freezes other targets, which is provided by that Ice Flare Bolt aspect. Those targets are then frozen, and we start the loop over again where we deal that increased primary weapon damage due to Whisper of Rending, we earn more stasis arrows to hipfire and freeze more targets to keep chaining that Whisper of Rending, Ice Flare Bolts will proc, and Whisper of Shards will proc when we break those crystals. What this does is keep our grenade uptime very high, provide a solid damage bonus for our primary exotic, which then allows us to create orbs of power and give us increased chances of finding heavy ammo. Another solid benefit to having frozen targets on the battlefield is the fragment Whisper of Chains. Whisper of Chains states that while you are near frozen targets or a friendly stasis crystal, you take reduced damage from targets. With Verglas Curve creating stasis crystals, we'll receive reduced damage anytime we're close enough to a stasis crystal. And because Verglas Curve makes so many of them, we'll have the ability to use these to help increase our survivability. Another change with the release of Lightfall was the change to the Resilience stat, with Tier 10 Resilience now only providing 30% damage reduction instead of 40%, so having these crystals on command can be valuable when you're in a tough situation. The last fragment in the Shadebinder build is Whisper of Fissures. What Whisper of Fissures will do is it will synergize with every other aspect of the exotic weapon, exotic armor, aspects, and the fragments. Because our goal is to maximize how many frozen targets we're shooting, when we shoot those targets who are frozen, we want to take advantage of an increase in the damage and size of the burst when we destroy a stasis crystal or a frozen target, which is exactly what Whisper of Fissures will do. We'll be running the Healing Rift for survivability, and the Cold Snap Grenade is synergized with our exotic armor. Speaking of, let's take a look at our exotic armor piece, Osmiomancy Gloves. Osmiomancy Gloves have the armor perk Fervid Cold Snap. Our Cold Snap grenades have an additional charge that recharges quicker on direct impact. The Seeker spawn from Cold Snap grenades travels further. Because we'll have an additional Cold Snap grenade, this allows us to place another stasis turret on the battlefield, or even hold one in the pocket ready to go in case a group of enemies push us and we need to use it reactively instead of proactively. Seen the fragments, the aspects, the exotic weapon, and the exotic armor piece, now let's take a look at what armor mods we'll be running to fully maximize this build. We mentioned the helmet armor mods earlier, but let's recap really quickly. The helmet has 2 copies of Harmonic Siphon, which creates orbs of power when we get rapid final blows with a stasis weapon. These are important because our Osmiomancy Gloves will have 3 copies of the mod Grenade Kickstart. Grenade Kickstart provides grenade energy when our grenade is fully expended. Additionally, it will consume an armor charge, and we will receive additional grenade energy for each copy of the mod we have equipped. We do have 3. Our chest piece is very standard with the Concussive Dampener mod and the Sniper Damage Resist mod to reduce incoming area of effect damage as well as damage from combatants at long ranges. The next mods we'll cover are in our legs. We're running 1 copy of Stacks on Stacks. Stacks on Stacks provides us an additional armor charge for each orb of power we pick up. We also have 1 copy of Recuperation to provide us additional health when we pick up these orbs of power, and 1 copy of Innervation, which reduces our grenade cooldown each time we also pick up an orb of power. Moving on, the last piece of the gear we'll take a look at is our bond. On our bond, we're running 3 copies of Bomber. What Bomber is going to do is it's going to reduce our grenade cooldown when using our class ability. So you'll want to throw out your stasis turret before you cast your Rift to take full advantage of this loop and give yourself additional grenade energy. If you have any armor charges, this will then take advantage of the multiple copies of Grenade Kickstart we have and provide us with additional grenade energy. Also, if you shatter one of your stasis crystals provided by the Hailstorm Arrows of Verglas Curve, we'll also gain that improved ability regeneration buff for up to 10 seconds potentially. All of this we've mentioned so far creates a build that provides very high ability uptime, survivability, and gives you more control over enemies by freezing them and slowing them with stasis. Champions such as Overloads and Unstoppables can be handled with ease by freezing them with the Hail Arrow stasis crystals from Verglas Curve. Your actual super will also freeze and then shatter unstoppable champions, allowing you to stun them, and the slow from the stasis turret can stun any overload champions. You don't have a guaranteed way to handle barrier champions, but the stasis turrets, your stasis crystals, as well as your cold snap grenades have a pretty decent chance at countering barrier champion shields. This makes the build future-proof because you won't rely on artifact mods to stun champions in future seasons. The build isn't fully complete until we look at our artifact mods and how they also create an additional gameplay loop centered around the orbs of power we'll be creating with our Harmonic Siphon mods. We'll first talk about Shatter Orbs. This perk states that the first time you break a combatant's shield, you create an orb of power as long as the shield is broken with a matching damage type. This artifact perk also synergizes with our next perk, Volatile Flow. Volatile Flow states that when picking up an orb of power, your void weapons are granted volatile rounds. We'll create a lot of orbs using Verglas Curve, so we need to take advantage of a weapon that is void, and the weapon I've chosen to use for this build is Null Composure. Null Composure has the perk Reservoir Burst. When the battery is full on the weapon, the next shot will deal additional damage as well as cause the enemy to explode on death. This is a great way to capitalize on the last artifact perk that we're going to be using in the build, so we're going to be using Bricks from Beyond. When defeating a powerful combatant with a void weapon, you have a chance to generate heavy ammo for you and your fire team. The reason I've chosen this perk is because it provides an additional way on top of using the exotic primary ammo weapon to increase our drop chances of heavy ammo. Utilizing both the Heavy Ammo Finder helmet mod and Bricks from Beyond, we're able to generate more heavy ammo more often. I don't have it unlocked yet, but if you're able to add an additional perk to your artifact, I would recommend going for Prismatic Transfer, where upon casting your super, each member of your fire team with a subclass damage type different than yours gains a bonus to weapon damage because there isn't really any other mods that synergize on the artifact with this build. With the heavy weapon, you have some flexibility in what you can run. For some content, I was running a Wendigo heavy grenade launcher with field prep and explosive light to take advantage of all the orbs we were making, and other times I was running a Reed's Regret because triple tap helps out your heavy weapon ammo economy so well. Lastly, I've settled on a Demolitionist and Chill Clip roll of the Typhon GL5. Chill Clip gives the top half of the magazine a slow effect, and when multiple shots land, it will then freeze the target. You can then swap to Verglas Curve for a bonus to the weapon damage, or you can just use the weapon to synergize with the Harmonic Siphon and take down large groups of adds, freezing and slowing targets while also building grenade energy through the Demolitionist perk. You can then launch your Stasis Turret or Cold Snap Grenade to reload this weapon. And there you have it. That concludes our Destiny 2 build video. I hope that you found the tips and insights provided in the video helpful. Remember, creating a perfect build is about finding gear and weapons that suit your playstyle and complement your strengths. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope that you found it informative. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this one. Your support helps me to continue creating and sharing content that I hope you'll love. Don't forget to leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts on this video or to suggest topics for future videos. I appreciate your feedback and look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.